Is this on? Is this working? Ah, it is! Hi! Welcome to our channel! We are the Teacheristic!
We teach!
We motivate!
We inculcate knowledge!
For today's video, we will be talking about materials adaptation, specifically on its major approaches, namely
The teacher-centered and learner-centered. The video is divided into 3 parts. One that is educational, an interview, and a motivational video for students, teachers, and aspiring professionals.
So, let's
Despite the fact that it seems a relatively under-researched discipline, in many ways, adapting materials is an inevitable process as it always carried out as a part of classroom practice. The simple fact of using a piece of teaching or learning materials inevitably means adapting it to the particular needs of a specific teaching and learning scenario. In the practice of language teaching, this has been accepted for quite a long time now. This is according to Madsen and Bowen 1978.
Finding and choosing materials to use in classes can be a challenge. Teachers must take into account a number of things, including authenticity, the original source, the target language skill, and learners' language levels, and of course, their ages. After choosing materials, teachers must then decide if the materials need to be further adapted to fit the needs of their learners. According to Tanvir Shamim in 2009, materials adaptation means matching materials with the learner's needs and the teacher's demands and the administration's purpose. To adapt materials, we have to consider 5 major factors.
The first of the 5 major factors is addition. Addition is an adaptation procedure which involves supplementation of extra linguistic items and activities to make up for the inadequacy or the inefficiency of the materials. Addition of the extra materials is necessary, applicable, appropriate when the following situations are faced. First, areas are not covered sufficiently. Second, texts, pictures, tasks are not provided. Next, texts, pictures, tasks are fewer than needed. Next, tasks are limited in scope. And then last, tasks are of limited range. The second factor is deletion. Deletion is an adaptation procedure that involves the removal of some of the linguistic items and activities which are found to be extra or maybe a little bit unnecessary. So, deletion is a process in which materials are taken out rather than added. Materials should be reduced through omission when the following situations are faced. First, learners are clear about a language point. Second, learners are competent in a skill. Next, there are too many tasks on a particular area or point. Next, the item or area concerned is not a priority. Then, the item or task is not well designed. Next, the item or task is not well suitable to its aims or well suited to its aims. Next is we have, or last but not the least, is the task is not appropriate for the learners.
The third factor is modification or changing. Modification means changes in different aspects of materials such as linguistic level, exercises, assessment system, and so on. Modification of materials is applicable or appropriate in the following situations. First, texts are of inappropriate length. Next is materials are inappropriate to the aim. Next is materials are inappropriate to the learner's age or experience. Next is materials are unclear, confusing, or misleading. And the last,
Tasks are badly designed. The fourth one is simplification. This procedure is employed to make materials less complicated or easier to understand. If the language teaching material is found to be difficult or mechanical for the target learner, it can be made suitable for the learner through the process of simplification. Fifth one is rearrangement or reordering. Rearrangement is a procedure of materials adaptation through which different parts of a course book are arranged in different order or sequence. Rearrangement of materials helps to make them comparatively more interesting and appropriate for the learner as well as the teacher.
The responsibilities of the learners and the teachers, as well as the relationship between the two approaches to materials adaptation, is quite different. In the learner-centered approach, the teachers bear less responsibility of being the source of knowledge and take on more responsibility as facilitators of a broad range of learning experiences, unlike the traditional learning-centered approach. Let us have a closer look on the differences of the two approaches based on different domains. The first domain would be knowledge. In the teacher-centered approach, the transmitter is the teacher, while at the learner-centered approach, the knowledge is constructed by the students. For the second domain, we have the student participation. The teacher-centered approach, it is passive, unlike the learner-centered approach, which is active and engaging. For the domain role of teacher, in the teacher-centered approach, the teacher is a leader and an authority. For the learner-centered approach, the teacher is a facilitator and a learning partner.
Role of assessment. For teacher-centered, few tests or assignments, mainly for grading. For learner-centered, many tests or assignments for ongoing feedback. For its emphasis. For teacher-centered, learning correct answers. For learner-centered, developing deeper understanding. For its academic culture. Teacher-centered, individualistic and competitive. For learner-centered, collaborative and supportive.
This information is adapted from Western Washington's University, Tools and Techniques for Program Improvement, Handbook for Program Review and Assessment for Student Learning 2006. If you want to learn more, just visit this link. Examples of teacher-centered materials are first, PowerPoint presentation, visual aids, recorded lectures, charts, objects, and photographs. Examples of learner-centered materials are storybooks, activity sheets, course books, as well as textbooks.
Hi everyone, I am Miss Marby Pintal, and today we're going to visit teacher Johnny Mamuntuan. We will ask about her approach in adapting and choosing her materials, as she has been a grade 1 teacher for 8 years. And now we have at least 7 questions, and by this, we will know the difference between teacher-centered materials and learner-centered materials. Now let's go! How do you choose or adapt your learning materials? Do you choose the materials based on your own choices, or do you choose them based on the interests and needs of your students?
I choose the materials based on the interests of my students. Kaya na every students lain-lain og interest, lain-lain po sila og level.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next question, can you describe the difference between teacher-centered and learner-centered materials?
Teacher-centered materials, sa ako lang pagsabot, teacher-centered materials, ang teacher lang ang nag-istorya kanunay, discuss kanang old version of teaching, while the learner-centered materials, ang ginauna sa teacher ang level of interest sa bata para makuha niya ang interest sa bata o lain-lain nga makahatag ang teacher o lain-lain nga mga activity based sa level sa estudyante.
To proceed, can you elaborate on some of the learner-centered materials that you have used, ma'am?
I use materials like pictures, visual aids, videos, downloaded videos, activity sheets, reading materials, basta kay haong lang sa estudyante.
you, ma'am.
Do most of your students respond positively and effectively to these materials?
Yes, tungod kay mas interested sila kung ang imong materials base po sa level sa ilahang pagsabot.
Do you think learner-centered materials are more effective in teaching and motivating your students?
Very effective ang learner-centered materials. Base sa ako ang experience, kunya makita nimo ang effective ang imong materials. Kita nimo siya after the class pag conduct nimo og quiz nga 99% or 100% pass ang bata.
For the last question, what do you think is the difference between the learning materials of your students from the materials of high school students? Ano yung grade level na tinuturuan niyo po?
Grade 1 teacher.
Wow. So ano yung pagkakaiba ng mga materials na ginagamit niyo sa mga materials ng high school students?
Ang grade 1 sa elementary, labi na sa grade 1, gamit jud ka og mga picture everywhere na adjud katumbas nga picture para sa ilahang recognition. While the high school, dili na nila kailangan ang picture kay dagko naman sila. Kay balo na sila kung unsa na siya nga word. Ug kabalo na pud sila mo search sa kanang word through internet or through dictionary.
Okay, thank you for your for being my guest for today, ma'am. Thank you. So that ends our interview. So once again, this is teacher Johnny Mamuntuan, and she's been a grade 1 teacher for 8 years. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
We are at a crossroad in education. The role of the teacher has been changing dramatically during the past few decades, reflecting a more student-centric classroom. We have shifted from a viewpoint that emphasized how we teach to one that now focuses on how they learn.
In this rapid changing world, as the skills, knowledge, and needs of students change, so does the role of the teacher. Since students spend most of the time with the teacher, a teacher is often considered as a guider, advisor, role model, or friend. Apart from knowledge expert, a teacher must demonstrate positive ethics and qualities.
These qualities can be reflected in his thought, speech, and behavior, and students were expected to learn it. A teacher can also share his personal experiences with students and give assistance, advice, suggestions when the students are facing personal problems.
Both teacher-centered approach and learner-centered approach are two methods teachers use to conduct their classroom teaching and learning process along with the students.
Therefore, both these approaches include educators, learners, and the process of imparting knowledge.
The change in perspective does not mean that the teacher's role is diminished. Actually, quite the opposite is true. Teachers have never been more essential to ensuring student outcomes.
During these learning experiences, students are empowered to think more complexly while creating and engaging with content through real-life problem-solving and perseverance.
Because of this instructional and professional shift, it's important that teachers and students communicate the teacher-student relationship clearly. Establishing and sharing clear procedures with students early will set the structures for positive interactions and aspirations.
No matter the approach, teachers have been more flexible and versatile than ever, ensuring inclusive education. Through our teachers' guidance, we, the students, will never be where we are in life without them. Kudos, teachers!